Hey guys, it's Will Kriske here. I want to show you how you can tweak any licks that you learn to make variations and to make these your own. I'm going to use the example of hip licks for guitar. This is the hip licks for saxophone version by Greg Fishman. Greg also had Mike Alamana do a guitar version with tab that you should go pick up. I'm going to provide a link in the description here. And what I did, I could talk a lot, I'll probably do a bunch of videos on this, but learn the licks. So they start out like, let's look at the 2-5-1s in, if we look at the page 26 in here in the sax version, he's got licks in all 12 keys, which is great because a lot of times, you get a lick in one key and you're asked, to put it in all 12, and people don't usually do that. So he's got different licks, a different lick for each key, so you could easily use it. But another way to go after that is to learn the licks in each key, like in the same key. So you start to see things that you can do with these licks. So for example, I'm going to be focusing in on the major 7 part of the lick. So we're going to do a lick in D minor 7, G7, C major 7. So if we look at the C major 7, so if we look at the whole lick here, so the C major 7 part is, so what I do with these licks is I look at the chord tones on the strong beats mostly. I look at the voice leading, I look at what are the chord tones that are kind of emphasized and targeted, which are usually beats 1 and 3. So this one goes from D to E. So then when I did these licks in the same key, I started noticing that other licks had parts that started on D as well. So for example, the lick number 99, there's a part if we played it in the key of C major, so instead of the first time I went, and then I went in lick 99, so that was 97. So you see how we could take so now I've changed the ending from that's like that's a variation on the first one. The other thing, if we looked at the dominant 7, G7, the way I look at that is you're starting on the minor 7, you're hitting those flat 9 sharp 9, and you're ending on the 5th, or the root, which is the G. So you went from the minor 7 to the root on beats 1 and 3. So I looked at these licks and I said, oh, you look at other areas over the dominant 7 chord. For example, lick number 100 has a note starting on the flat 7 over in this case it's E7. So instead of going over the dominant 7, you could go something like that. Or you could take that exact part of the lick there. So when you identify the chord tones that the licks are using on the strong beats, then you could diverge and go in a different direction. So you're really connecting parts of different licks if you want to think about it that way. So by noticing, hey, this lick started on the flat 7, this other lick started on the flat 7, now I've got 2 different choices and I could go in different directions all the way through with the major 7. So I'm starting on the beginning of lick 97, and then I jump down to lick 100. That's the simple way to think about it. I also look at what I call the cells. They're kind of like 4-note cells. So I see this as a scale fragment. I started on D and then I went B, C, D, E. So I targeted the D, then I hit the E. So you could do it that way. So there's different ways to approach those target notes. And when you look at these phrases, these licks, you'll notice melodic patterns. That's one thing I really like about the sax, is that these, what I call these cells, they're melodic combinations of different cells. It's not just one long scale or just arpeggios. It's a combination of chromatic approaches, scale fragments, triads, or arpeggios, pentatonic things. There's all those sorts of things all combined in one phrase. And a lot of times when I looked at guitar players, there's a lot of scalar activity, typical, which are major, minor seconds. Not a lot of other intervals, I guess, is what it comes down to. Just the melodic nature is what I really noticed. So there's some ideas for you to take away. I could go on and on. I'm probably going to do more videos about this. Just to recap, learn the licks, learn them in one key, like in each of the keys, and then notice what chord tones are being used on the strong beats, and try to mix and match these licks. So you could start with the part of one, and then move on to another one. And that's because there's parts that have a common chord tone. And listen to what you're playing, and make sure it sounds good. So I highly recommend you pick up the hip licks for guitar. And if you want to go into more detail about tweaking lines or connecting them in a solo, I'm available for webcam lessons, just one-on-one via Skype or other technology. At your own leisure. You could do one-offs here and there, or set up a schedule if you want. I find a lot of people get stuck after they learn licks. They don't know what to do with them. I'm going to be doing more on this. I did a video where I took some licks and I made a solo, and that shows that the solo can be very melodic and have some cohesiveness and development into it. It's not just cutting and pasting licks and throwing them in a disjointed fashion, which a lot of people think if you learn solos or phrases, you're just just going to become a clone and it's not going to sound good. So I'm going to do more, I'm going to do something more topics on that, on using the licks. But I've done some solos on my YouTube channel where I go into using licks in solos as your basis and how to develop them. And that takes some work and some practice and analysis. So if you want to work with me, check out my website, willkriske.com. There's a Skype guitar lesson link at the top, and I'd love to see you and go through this stuff and get you progressing. All right, well, hopefully that helps you guys. So we'll talk to you later.